Tracy, can you say one more thing?
Yeah. Are we all good?
We are good to go.
Great.
Awesome. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I love technology. All right. So a
This is
few
our first problem that we've ever had in this. So sorry about that, guys.
It's all right. We're back up and running. Few housekeeping items though before we get into it. Please keep your lines muted throughout the duration of the presentation today. If you have any questions, we love questions. Please use the chat box, fill up the chat box. We'll either try to respond in real time or in the chat or at the end if we have time. Um, Also, the meeting will be recorded. I just hit record. So if you want to refer back to anything that we talk about today, because it's going to be an excellent topic, you can find that on our SharePoint site. Also, if you're interested in receiving 100 Personify Health points for today's presentation, I'll be popping that survey link in the chat near the end of today's presentation. Fill out that survey, and then at the end of the presentation, when you submit it, the code will show on the message. So you can go ahead and put that in. Today's topic is one that I am particularly very excited about, and I think that it's very important. All the topics that we talk about are very important, but this one specifically, we're going to be talking all about mental fatigue. And I think a lot of times we understand like physical fatigue when your body feels tired, or if you're working out a lot and you need a recovery day. But I don't think that we think so much about our brain, and our brain really does get worked out. So if you think about like you have a really hard day, you're using your brain a lot, you're brainstorming, at the end of the day, it kind of feels like mush. Like you can't even like form a sentence. So we want to talk about how do we care for our brain? How do we recover? How do we combat mental fatigue and burnout? We're going to talk about stress and sleep and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our expert, Tracy. Tracy, why would you say this is a really important topic?
I kind of feel like we're in a time of our life where like hustle culture is front and center. And we or I guess when I say we, I'm generally speaking, a lot of us feel like we kind of have to be on, or we have to do more, or we have to do extra in order to kind of prove our worth. Or if we don't do extra, if we aren't checking emails later at night or using up every ounce of time during our workday to do work stuff, then it's looked at or viewed at as being lazy.
Yeah, I think that's a lot. There's a lot of hustle culture happening. I feel like there's also like twofold, right? Like there's like hustle culture, and then it's also like, oh, Americans are lazy. And it's tough because even if you are sitting down and mindlessly watching TV or scrolling your phone, like you might not necessarily be like mentally recovering. Like your brain still might be spinning with all these things that you have to do, and it might be more of a procrastination thing than it is a mental recovery thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too.
I think too, like for this episode in particular, like we are going to stay away from physical activity. We know like in our culture, like our jobs have evolved to be we're much more sedentary, but we're going to leave that at the door for now. So no physical talk. From the mental aspect, I feel like we are exposed to so much information all the time, constantly, with the evolution of social media, with the evolution of technology, entertainment as a whole. So now our brains really, honestly, the only time they're really resting is sleeping. So like now we truly do get as much mental fatigue as we do probably physical fatigue at this point.
And I was like reading something about like no one's bored anymore. Like there's never downtime. If you're sitting there for more than 10 seconds, people usually pick up their phone and start scrolling. Like you don't allow yourself to be bored. And also I feel like there's also less time for creativity too. Like I think about like as a kid, like we didn't have, not that I'm that old, but like I didn't have phones and stuff. And so like you get creative and you like use different parts of your brain, and like we don't tap into those in the same way anymore.
Especially as adults, like we don't have typically like any playtime or anything like that. So everything in our lives are like super structured, or we have to make them that way because of a busy lifestyle. So then like we don't really tap into the side of our brain that lets us explore like the creativity that we may have once had as a child.
Mm-hmm. Tracy, what would you say are
Yeah,
like
and a lot of that.
Oh, sorry. There's like a delay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No. I was just gonna say to Dana's point too, like a lot of that creativity comes when you give yourself time to just like sit and be silent and not do anything. Because we automatically look for other things to get our attention, we don't allow our brains the ability to be creative anymore.
For sure. What would you say like some of the biggest misconceptions around this are?
Well, I think a lot of times, especially in the working world, I hear it so often that like I don't have time to take a break. We feel like we have so much on our plate that we need to just keep going to get it all taken care of. When in reality, being able to take a short break, even sometimes if it's like a minute up to 5 minutes, can have a huge impact on your productivity throughout the rest of the day. So when I lead different stretch breaks, I don't think I've ever heard a time of somebody leaving a stretch break saying like, oh, that was a waste of my time. Everybody feels so much better after doing it. It's just getting into that mindset of I need to step away from what I'm doing right now to take that break, because it's going to have a much more positive impact on the rest of my day.
Someone mentioned in the chat too, like back-to-back meetings. I think that's probably like one of the biggest things everyone on the call, including myself and us three presenting to you, really struggle with. Something that we do, Tracy just mentioned, is like recharge breaks or stretch breaks. We have those available to you guys. I'm gonna tap us in here. Like if you do visit our SharePoint site, we have stretch breaks that you can do on demand, like they're readily available. We also offer those for teams if you guys are looking for that. But I would say when you do back-to-back meetings, your brain does not get time to like transition. So then it just keeps adding and adding and adding. And I know someone in the chat mentioned like the task that you have from the meeting, there's no time to actually do the work. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles that we combat from like a overall well-being standpoint, is that there is not enough time to do those things because of so many meetings. And it's something that we struggle with too. I think the first step is being cognizant of like what's really happening and try to set 50-minute meetings instead of an hour, because you need time to be a human. Like you got to go to the bathroom or,
Mm-hmm.
or like, I don't know, just a moment to yourself that you're just not turned on.
Yeah, I saw in the chat someone's like, I miss pagers. You could just
Yeah.
ignore it. People have 100% of the like access to you constantly, and that's crazy too. Like text, email, Teams, there's phone call. There's so many ways for people to constantly reach you too now. That just adds to it.
Very much.
What are some common?
Yeah, I think if you
Oh,
use the analogy, if you
delay.
use the analogy of like if you look at it in a different way, I mean, the draft is really big right now because it's in Green Bay, and it's happening this weekend. But if you think about all of these athletes that are participating in the NFL draft, or just that are participating in professional sports in general, like if you had them go out on a field for 8 to 10 hours straight, and just work, exercise, train, on back-to-back days, Mondays through Friday, with no rest in between, like it wouldn't take long for them to, experience injuries and, run into kind of severe detriment to their body. So when you look at it that way, like that's what we're doing to our mind. We're expecting it, our brain, we're expecting it to just work, go without any breaks. And it can really take a toll on your brain and then your body overall over time.
Absolutely. I love when you start getting into the brain stuff. So Tracy, this is your time to shine here, because I know you did a lot of research on this. Can you share some of the foundational principles of this topic, and then also like some of the latest research?
So your body actually operates on a lot of biorhythms. which is, I'm not going to get too technical, but it's basically cycles that occur in your body. And some of them we are probably more familiar with, some not so familiar with. But we have like our sleep and wake cycle. We naturally have a time where we are encouraged, or our body encourages us to sleep, and then an alternate time where we are encouraged to be awake. Within sleep, we have the REM cycle and the non-REM cycle. Those repeat throughout our sleep. Like with females, we have menstrual cycles. Like we have, in general, people and just animals or mammals in general operate on a variety of different cycles. And one of those is like our energy or our focus cycle. And it's actually been studied that our focus, our mental focus, and our energy begins to diminish after 90 minutes. So it seems super, super short, probably because we challenge it a lot. And when you think about some of our other cycles that we go through, like our sleep and wake cycle, we probably challenge that a lot too, and we don't think anything of it. But if you normally go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then all of a sudden one night you go to bed at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then the next night you maybe do the same, like it shows up in your body really quickly. You do that one night, and the next day you wake up and you feel sluggish and just really off and can't catch up, can't focus. And that happens with your brain too. If you are operating on longer than 90-minute cycles without taking a break, it happens. We get into flow state. We're working on a PowerPoint, or we're programming or designing some type of plan, and we get into that. But if you do that over and over and over again, it's just not sustainable, and it's not like an optimal form of your body to function.
And you start to show up in like negative ways, right? Like whether you're a boss or a colleague or a parent or a friend or a spouse, typically when you have mental fatigue and you're overloaded, eventually, one, the body, I think somebody put in the chat, the body keeps score 1000%. Like your body will tell you, and it will eventually not be able to keep up the way you need to. Have you ever seen someone that's like, I mean, there's a ton of billionaires out there that's like, I sleep 3 hours a day. That's not something for like a medal. That's actually terrible. And most of them look pretty terrible too. Because we're not designed that way as human beings. And sleep is the biggest, I mean, sleep is slept on for sure. It is your best recovery. And eventually, like, you're going to be increased irritability. You're not going to be able to function at your optimal level. So there's things that are going to start to show up in your everyday life that are more not just who you are. You aren't just a cranky person. You may be, hopefully you're not. But I mean, these are coming and stemming from things that we're doing in our daily life.
This is literally something Tracy and I talked about when we were planning for this call, because Tracy's got 2 kids, so I was like, I can't even begin to like scratch the surface with this. But when I got my dog as a puppy a few years ago, like she didn't sleep for 3 nights straight. This dog just whined all night for 3 nights, and I was the meanest, grumpiest, short-tempered, angry person. And I was telling Tracy, I was like, I don't know how people with kids can do it, because oh my gosh, like that. And Tracy was like, I was a real not nice person for a while. You can feel it though. Like
Yeah.
I like this
Like
deep rage. I'm like, where's this coming from? I didn't sleep.
Yeah, no sleep.
I can't even begin to empathize with actual parents, but I feel like I got a glimmer of it, and it's rough. So
Tracy, can you talk about like the latest research about the subject on like how they tested mental fatigue? Like, I think you wrote.
Well, yeah, interesting.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, interestingly enough, they've done tests just to see how your body responds to mental fatigue. So what they'll do is have people do like math problems for 90 minutes straight, and then they'll put them on a treadmill. And when that individual, like when they hit their max on that treadmill, they'll tap out. And what they've recognized or what they've found out is that individuals that, so they'll test that compared to somebody that just goes on a treadmill with kind of a fresh brain, not doing the 90 minutes of math problems beforehand. And what they found is that those that are doing the math problems beforehand are tapping out on the treadmill 15 to 20% earlier than normal. And when they're looking at their like the physical results of them being on the treadmill, their heart rate isn't any different. The lactic acid buildup in their muscles is the same as when they didn't do math problems beforehand. But what they're recognizing is that their rating of perceived exertion is that much higher after doing those math problems. So when you get mentally fatigued, you are going to perceive work to be that much harder and are going to be encouraged to quit earlier.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's incredible. So someone actually mentioned something in the chat that I wanted to touch on because it's a recent study that they're doing on sleep. So I think we've always heard you should wake up at the same time every day. Like even if on the weekend, on the workday, you wake up at 7:30, you should keep a steady wake up time and go to bed time. Some recent research that they are doing heavily on sleep is showing, because I do not do that. I also do not have kids. So my sleep, I have gotten very much under control, but I'll get like 7.5 hours maybe during the week. During the weekend, I do not set an alarm if I don't have to. And I mean, a lot of times I have to, but if I do not have to, I don't. And I just let my body sleep as much as it wants. And sometimes I'll sleep 10 straight hours. And the new study is showing that we really actually should do that, that our body will tell us like when we want to be awake and when we need sleep. So it's not necessarily that we should really be waking up at the same time, no matter what, that you can actually on the weekend, if you don't have anything planned, like it is very healthy to like just let your body sleep and let it recover, and it will tell you when it wants to wake up. So I was very pleased to know that new research, because I've always read like, don't just sleep 10 hours, whatever. And now research is showing like, just let your body do what it wants. It will tell you when you're rested. I thought that was pretty
It is
significant.
interesting, and I don't want to go too deep into sleep because
Yep.
that can be a whole nother talk. But what I did find was really interesting. So, like Tracy, you're saying like the stuff is in cycles, and you sleep in cycles. I used to have this app that you just like keep on next to your bed, and you set like a range of time that you need to be woken up. Like I have to be up by this time, but like it's okay to like be up within 30-45 minutes. And this app would like sense your sleep cycle and would wake you up in the lightest stage of sleep. And I could tell a huge difference when you get up in the lightest stage of sleep versus deep sleep. And so sometimes, if your body like naturally wakes up, even if it's before your alarm, like sometimes I'll just stay up because that's like it's 20 or 30 minutes before I would get up. But like I might slip back into a deep sleep, get up and feel groggy. I find that interesting too. Like when you wake up and your cycle can affect how you are the rest of the day. I don't remember the name of the app. I'll have to look it up. I think it was like just called Sleep Cycles or something. It was free. It was kind of cool.
Love a free app.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. Tracy, there was just something I wanted to touch on too back in some of the research stuff. There was something about like the outdoors and like getting exposed to like light at certain times of day. Can you talk about that a little bit? Just super briefly.
Yeah, the outdoors can play a big role in general when it comes to mental fatigue. One of the ways is setting your circadian rhythm. So it may be a little bit opposite of what the research she was mentioning, but when you get outside in the morning when the sun is just rising anywhere, and I know that the sun changes based on the seasons, but anytime like before, I would say 11 a.m. to get outside and have your body experience the sunrise. The sunrise contains actually more of a blue light, and it triggers your body to kind of like wake up and get going. It's like a sign to your body of time to wake up. It's time to be active. But what it also does is create like a set point. So generally 12 hours after that is when your body is going to start to release melatonin for you to start calming down and getting prepared for bed. So then you can also get outside around dusk, which has a different kind of light. It's more of a red light. And that kind of creates that second set point for your body of like, okay, the sun is going down. It's time to wind down. It's time to, for our body to start like quieting itself and get prepared for sleep. So the research that I was looking at is being able to set your circadian rhythm, or to set it more profoundly using the sun is going to help with mental fatigue during the day, because you're going to get a better night's sleep when you prepare your body for what's coming. And that in turn is going to allow you to perform or have more medical or mental production during the day. So I think of it like charging your cell phone. If you get a good charge and you start the day at 100% battery, you're going to have a better response from your phone throughout the day than if you're only starting at like 80% battery.
Yeah. And I think so many people get used to like feeling a certain way. Like you don't even realize that like you could feel so much better. Like they're just like, this is just me now. And a lot of that too, like Tracy, I saw in some of your notes, like some of the early warning signs for someone to be aware of: irritability, being short-tempered, anxious, overwhelmed, losing focus, making mistakes, feeling restless or fidgety, working for hours straight, feeling disconnected and unmotivated. That's a big one. Like we start to get into burnout. So like we can see all of these physical signs too. I think you even mentioned like stomach aches, headaches, difficulty falling asleep. All of these things with mental fatigue and burnout, like if you start to notice these things within you, Tracy, what are some like practical steps that we can give the listeners so that they can leave here today with some like actionable items to start combating or getting ahead of mental fatigue and burnout?
Dana mentioned a good one at the top of the call is trying to structure your meetings, like taking advantage of the fact that Outlook automatically schedules them for 25 minutes and 50 minutes instead of 30 and 60, to have that built in time to just kind of transition or take that mental break. Another thing that I learned is that just focusing on a screen in general, or just looking at things with more of like a focal point at short range, creates kind of like a small stress response in your body. So it doesn't necessarily even matter what you're looking at. Obviously, if you're doing some type of stressful work or watching some type of stressful television, that's going to increase that stress response. But just having that focal vision in general is going to encourage that stress response. So looking away from your computer, and more specifically, trying to look outdoors or get outdoors where things are way more expansive and bigger, and our eyes have the ability to look further away than just, the walls of our room. On top of that, when you are outdoors, there's a thing called optic flow, where as you move through the outdoors or through nature, whether you're riding a bike, skateboarding, walking, whatever that looks like, it naturally creates, it's called optic flow, and that triggers your parasympathetic nervous system to kick in, which is the opposite of your fight or flight response. So it kind of trains or triggers your body to like calm and relax. So looking away from your computer, getting outdoors as often as you can, creating that bigger space, shortening your meetings, creating those small breaks so that your brain has the ability to kind of reset. And then in general, I think just taking the time to recognize maybe what your body is experiencing and what you can do to help with that.
I would also say too, like the intensities of our everyday life have like really increased. So whether it's the back-to-back meetings, you leave your office, you're fighting traffic, you're picking up your kids, you're getting one to one ball practice, you're taking the other to the other ball practice, you're coming home, picking up something, you're in traffic again, you get home, you got to get the kids a shower, prep lunches for tomorrow. Like everything is at such a high intensity all the time. Like I noticed, I, I was driving home yesterday and there was traffic, so it took me like an hour to get home. I was raging because I had 7 meetings yesterday. So it was back to back to back. I get in my car, I'm trying to go home. There's an hour traffic. I was in just such a terrible headspace. And I feel like most people on this call can probably relate at some point. So I would say whatever brings you like a sliver of joy or relaxation or a decompression, any type of thing for before you're going to bed, I think is really vital. Or just like whether it's breath work, whether it's the sauna, whether it's a steam room, whether it's laying in the middle of your floor, stretched out, listening to calming music, whether it's a meditation app. I do like this weird, like interpretive type of dancing before I go to bed. It's very weird,
Would
but
you like
it's
to
like,
demonstrate?
no, I'm not demonstrating, but honestly, it's like you listen to like really soft music and all you have to do is one breath in, you take a movement, and on the breath out, you take a movement. I do this for 2 minutes or the end of the song, however the song is. And I promise you, my sleep, like, it's insane. So I would say, like, whatever you find that works for you, start to practice that daily as like just an introduction into what may help you.
And I love this quote. We use it a lot when we talk about like physical activity, but it also applies to mental stuff too. But it's if you don't take time for your wellness, you'll be forced to take time for your illness, and that's going to be a lot more inconvenient.
Write that down.
That's one of my favorite quotes. So just even if the day feels overwhelming, take that 5 minutes for yourself. Like you absolutely need it because when everything comes crashing down, you're going to be way more inefficient than if you would have just taken those 5 minutes here and there when you need them. So that's all I got. I want to leave y'all with that. I know we're up on time, so I'm gonna go ahead, let y'all go. Thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again next month. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. We'll hang out a little bit if anyone has any questions in the chat, but thank y'all for being here. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Tracy, you're a rock star. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat. We're happy to answer. Again, remember the big takeaways is like from screens and focal vision, breath techniques, softening your gaze, get outside, all of those type of things. Even if it's for 5 minutes to step away, it'll be a good bonus for you.
Awesome.
We'll be sending out the Personify code.
It's in the survey.
It's
the
in the
survey's
survey.
in the chat. Take the survey, and then the code pops up after you hit submit on the survey. It displays a message with the code. And if you miss it, send me an email.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your week and have a good weekend.